Hello there. Welcome to my show, COVID-19 update by Heerak for May 26, 2020. This is Tuesday. Um, and I guess I'm pretty happy because, I took an exam today for clinical nurse leader program and I got 99%. I study hard. I just study day and night for that exam. So I'm glad to see that my hard work paid off. And yeah, 99%. So I'm very, I work really hard. So it's good to see your hard work getting paid off. So yeah. So yeah, what you're hearing now is actually Israeli national anthem. And the reason I'm playing that is because I'm going to share some photos with you from Israel later. So stay tuned. Um, and I think you'll enjoy the photos and the stories. So don't miss out. Um, yeah. Today I also registered for my clinical nurse leader certification exam. And it's an exam that is given by Commission on Nurse Certification, CNC. And you see the emblem there. And it's $425 for the exam. It's crazy. And because it's COVID-19 crisis time, I clicked on like testing center, and they didn't have any testing centers open. But they said, testing somewhere. And from what I understand, they're going to email us possible testing areas, like, like a week before the testing period begins. So I guess I'll just wait for that email. But COVID-19, has kind of turned everything upside down. So testing centers are closed. Um, and people are still getting COVID and dying. So, you totally understand, obviously. And you know, and you know, you know, it's kind of, it's time flies, and you experience all these kind of interesting things. I lived in Israel for over 3 years, and I was there when buses were blowing up with Intifada. And now, we're experiencing this COVID-19, and historians were right about it. We're still in the beginning stages, so it's not like it's going anywhere anytime soon. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this COVID-19 situation develops in the next 2 to 3 years or more. And but this is nothing compared to what Jews experienced. Jews had their country, state of Israel, destroyed in 70 AD, about 40 years after Jesus was crucified on the cross. And St. Paul was, like kind of evangelizing throughout the Roman Empire. 70 AD, Jerusalem was completely destroyed. The Jerusalem temple was destroyed. And the Jews did not have their homeland for 2,000 years. Can you believe that? That beats any tragedy in human history, really. I mean, COVID-19, they say this thing will last forever. I mean, let's talk after 2,000 years, you know what I'm saying? For us, we're looking at, next several years of people dying from COVID-19. And World Health Organization is saying that it will not end. And, maybe we won't have a vaccine for the next 10 years. Experts saying that's a possibility and people will keep dying. we'll see. But can you imagine not having a country for 2,000 years? Jews did not have a country for 2,000 years. Can you believe that? Oh my gosh, like I'm Korean. We had a country for 5,000 years or longer. We were occupied by the Japanese from 1910 to 1945, 35 years. And we talk about it forever, we're like always talking about it. Can you imagine like being like Jews who don't have a country for 2,000 years? And that's why their national anthem is called Hatikva, and that in English means hope, because founding of the state of Israel was hope coming true for Jews around the world. And that's why it's called Hatikva. And so, yeah, you get to learn all kinds of things, right? Watching my show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak. So watch every day. It's a daily show. And I give you information that you need to survive COVID-19. And as you know, I'm graduating with master's degree from School of Nursing and Health Studies from Georgetown University. And my program is called Clinical Nurse Leader. And as I said, I got 99% today. I don't know if I got the highest score out of all my cohort members, there are 25 of us. Yeah, I'm not going to ask it. I'm just going to be polite about it. But, I worked hard though, I worked basically all Memorial Weekend. I stayed home and worked on this, preparing for this exam. And so, yeah, I feel like I deserve it because I worked so hard on it. So, yeah, I'm just celebrating. Congratulations to me. Congratulations to all my core members. We're graduating with clinical nurse leader degree, a master's degree from School of Nursing and Health Studies. We are all going to be clinical nurse leaders. Yeah, so we have our pinning ceremony this Friday, so we're all excited. We're doing it with Bachelor's of Science in Nursing students. There's like 26 of them. So there are 25 of us from a clinical nurse leader program, and then there's 26 people in the Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. So we're master's students, they're bachelor students, and we've done some stuff together. Like we've done simulation on poverty together. How do you survive as a poor person? And so yeah, so that was an interesting thing. Professor Lorraine Spencer, the public health nursing expert at Georgetown University, who's my faculty advisor, in nursing. She organized everything with other colleagues of hers, and it was a great simulation. We did that with Bachelor's of Science in Nursing students, and so it was a fun event. And we used the same room where I, as the president of Georgetown Collaborative Diplomacy Initiative, through the Chinese New Year's party on January 24, 2020. It was the biggest celebration of Chinese New Year in the history of Georgetown University. And you could Google it and you could read an article on that. The Hoya Chinese New Year celebration 2020. There's an article about that. So yeah, the Hoya is a school newspaper at Georgetown. And it's like the biggest room at Healy Family Student Center, which is a room. And it fits like, hundreds of people. And our Chinese New Year is sold out, we had a big waiting list, and Superfood performed, the Grace Notes, two famous a cappella groups at Georgetown, they performed, it's great. We used that room to do the simulation for the poverty. So we had 25 clinical nurse leader master students and 26 bachelors of science in nursing students. And so we had the simulation on how to survive as a poor person, because it's like public health nursing, right? We help poor families survive, and that's something that public health nursing cares about. And another sim that we did was on pandemic. Can you believe that? He's looking at me like seriously. He's like, "Oh, pandemic." So yeah, pandemic. We had a simulation on pandemic, like COVID-19, because as you know, public health nursing has to anticipate any kind of pandemic. So it's a standard part of nursing education to anticipate pandemic and practice in simulated form how to you know how to survive. So with the contact tracing, we did all that, so we're ready for COVID-19. So we're trained in it, and yeah. So we understand what's going on, and we understand what could happen, and we understand that what's happening now with decrease in death figures, it doesn't mean much because this is a pandemic. So everybody in the clinical nurse leader program, everybody in the bachelor's of science and nurse program who've done the pandemic, simulation together, we understand that this is not going to go away anytime soon. All of us understand that. We understand that people are going to die. And, I'm predicting that at least 5 out of 25 will die who graduate from the clinical nurse leader program because this pandemic is continuing. And in the fall, we're going to have influenza A and influenza B strike. So that's going to be striking with COVID-19 there. And COVID-19 seems to be mutating. It's going to continue to kill. So I'm predicting that 10,000 nurses in America will die by Christmas 2020. And in the class of 2020, because, we're fairly new, we're bound to make errors. So I'm predicting that about 20% of every, of the class of 2020 nurses will die from COVID. So I believe I'm correct because, we did the pandemic simulation and we all know that this is not going to go away. We all have studied how it spread, so we know it's not going to go away. And the number of deaths are going to increase, especially because during Memorial Day, everybody opened up. So we're going to see a spike in death cases in the next, about, like 2 to 4 weeks, we're going to see a sharp spike in the cases. And then 2 to 4 weeks after that, we're going to see sharp spike in deaths. So I'm predicting that 10,000 people will die per day in the United States in the summer from COVID-19 because we've opened up. I support opening up. You can open up, but to save the economy, but you have to know people are going to die. So the reason that we have low number of people dying now is because we're closed for past 2-3 months. So we're reaping the benefits of that. So, don't celebrate because we're having decrease in death because we were closed for 2 to 3 months. Now that we're opening up, we're going to have sharp rise in death. And everybody who did the pandemic simulation knows that. Virus spreads from people to people contact. In the last 2 to 3 months, everybody was at home with the stay-at-home order. So there was no human contact, right? So it didn't spread. So, don't celebrate because we have decreasing death rates. It's just you're reaping the benefit of 2 to 3 months of closure. I say open up if you want, but you have to know that more people are going to die, right? So if you are willing to see several million Americans die to save the economy, hey, so be it. I'm predicting about 30 million US citizens will die in the next 2 to 3 years from COVID-19 because if we choose to open up the economy, we have to be ready for millions of Americans dying. And I'm predicting that 20, 30 million Americans will die. And, I have no problem with opening up the country to prioritize economy. We're a country where we have frontierism, right? A lot of people died expanding westward, and that's how we built our nation. So I could see why people want to, work even though they're going to die. I'm predicting that 20 to 30% of all people who go to church will be infected with COVID-19 and die. So that's my prediction, and I believe I'm true, I'm accurate to predict this. Um, and I challenge health experts out there to prove me wrong. I'm just using scientific data, it's textbook data. They've studied pandemics for a long time. It's not like pandemics are something new. So people have studied it, people have analyzed it, people know what pandemics do. So we can predict, what's going to happen. Spanish flu killed over 50 million people in the world. So COVID-19 will kill probably more than 50 million. I think most science experts are expecting that. So it's just textbook, and that's what happens when you have a global pandemic with no vaccine and no cure. So yeah, so I'm predicting that about 30 million Americans will die from COVID because we're no longer staying at home and protecting ourselves. And as I said, you're welcome to open up. I have no objections to that, as long as you know that you are going to be in danger of dying, right? And we call this informed consent. You know, we give you information that you need to know, and you take the risk you want to take, right? And that's what you're doing when you're opening up America. You're taking a risk of dying from COVID, but informed consent means you're willing to take that risk, right? We give you information, and then you take the risk. You know, it's just that's what we call. That's what informed consent is. You could choose to do what we we are giving you information to do, or you could say, "Well, I don't want to do that." Right? I think that we should not open up because more people are going to die. For me, saving lives of U.S. citizens is far more important than making sure our economy uh, doesn't slump. Because I think life is more important than economy. I think life is more important than money. And obviously, that's why I'm going into nursing, right? I mean, I'm becoming a clinical nurse leader because I want to save lives, right? So for me, as a healthcare expert, and I'm also a nationally certified phlebotomist, so, um, as a healthcare expert, I would argue it's better to keep everything closed because this is a pandemic. We don't have an accurate contact tracing system available. And this is a deadly virus that has killed. So I would say don't open up. That's my advice. And I give you information as to why that is a better way to go. So, and you could repeat this back to me that you understand this. And then you could choose to do what you want. You could ignore my advice. And and in healthcare system, we call that against medical advice. So let's say the doctor says you should take this medicine for your cancer. And if you don't take this medicine for your cancer, you're going to die. But, right? And then the nurse comes in and make sure that you understand what the doctor said. And so you explain it back to the nurse saying, if I don't take this medication, I was told that I'm going to die. And then you could decide, I don't want to take this medication. And then we chart on our documentation AMA, which stands for against medical advice. Because medical advice is for you to take the medication that's going to help you with cancer, slow it down. Maybe you'll go into remission. There's no cure for cancer, but you could go into remission, which is like being cured of cancer. But you could say, well, I don't want to take that medication because I don't want to lose my hair. I value my hair, Um, and like chemotherapy, you lose your hair, right? And you feel miserable. And so you say, well, I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to lose my hair. And so you say, well, I'm just not going to take the medication. And then you have the freedom to do that, right? That's what informed consent is. Like, if you decide to go and take the medication, you know that you're going to lose your hair, you're going to feel groggy and awful and weak, but you say you're still going to take the medication because it may help you enter into remission from cancer, right? So you sign the consent form to be treated that way, or or surgeries. When you go into surgeries, let's say you have cancer and it's grown in your liver, and they want to cut it out, then you have to sign a document saying you understand what's going on, you understand the dangers, because every surgery something could go wrong. So the surgeon comes in and explains to you, you have a cancer in your liver, we have to cut it out. You know, but there are X, Y, and Z dangers that could happen in the surgery. But if you're still willing to have the surgery because you could cut the cancer out of your liver. And then the nurse comes in, and nurse is responsible for getting the informed consent signed. That's the nurse's responsibility. So the nurse asks the patient to explain back the benefits of surgery and the risk, because you could die from surgery, right? Because anything would happen, So, in a sense, it's like you're signing a document saying, I understand I could die from surgery. I'm not going to hold the surgeon responsible if I die in surgery. It's kind of like that, right? But you have a chance to have this cancer cut off from your liver, and maybe that will help you get rid of cancer. I mean, there's no cure for cancer, but it's one way to go about it. And we call that informed consent. And you could decide to go with the advice of the doctor and sign the documentation after you understand the explanation. And then nurses say we now have informed consent. So patient is informed and has signed the document. Now this document represents the informed consent of the patient to get the surgery and cut out the cancer from his or her liver, right? But obviously you could say, no, I don't want the surgery because I'm afraid I'm going to die from the surgery. And you're free to do that, but it's going against medical advice. So we document, AMA against medical advice. Or, you decided not to get the cancer, And so, and in the same way, you have the right to open up your business, as long as you know that you have a higher chance of dying from COVID-19 when you open up and you start talking with people. As long as you know that, you could choose to put your life in danger at your own risk. I'm not going to lie to you and say you're not going to get COVID, because you probably will. So most scientists say, up to 100% of Americans, 330 million people, can get COVID. That's because it's a virus. It can infect everybody, 100% of the population. So from a medical standpoint, 100% of Americans can get COVID. In terms of trending, they're saying like 60 to 80% will get, COVID if, because some people are still staying at home or whatever, But theoretically, 100% can get it because you get it from people. So yeah, so if 200 million Americans get COVID, then at the current rate of 6%, you have 12 million people dying. Obviously, when hospitals are overwhelmed, the death rate's going to go up and more people are going to die because there's no hospital bed, there's no ventilator. That's why I'm saying there's going to be 30 million people or more dying because, hospital beds will run out at some point, PPE will run out at some point, medicine will run out at some point. That means, 100% of the patients could die without medicine, and if they run out in a hospital. So yeah, so I'm anticipating all that, and that's why I'm saying I'm anticipating over 30 million Americans to die from COVID in the next 2 to 3 years. And I think no scientist will refute me on this one. Yeah, because it's just scientific fact that viruses spread. I mean, clinical nurse leaders and bachelors of science in nursing students, all of us have done this simulation, you know, of virus spreading, and in the simulation, one person spread it everywhere. And one person went to a reunion and spread it. One person went to this, social gathering and spread it. I mean, geez, we studied how it spreads. One person can spread it to like thousands of people easily in a matter of days. Yeah, so I don't think you should be surprised if 10,000 people start dying every day from COVID in the summer. Now that, people are just like walking around talking to people, that's how you spread it. Just because you don't see COVID-19 doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I think, I was watching the news on Memorial Day weekend, and, there are people like, it's like, they think like COVID-19 is gone. I'm like, you don't see virus. I mean, it's like, it's going to be invisible to the naked eye. And just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Do you see like the cold virus or the flu virus? You don't see it, it's there. If you get it, you could die. I mean, I mean, yeah, now there's a strain, the one I'm calling New York virus, like that's targeting children and killing children. It's a mutated form of COVID-19, and COVID-19 can mutate to target specifically like 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds. That definitely could happen in the future, and it may be happening now as we talk. And so viruses continuously mutate, and so just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Viruses don't come in a mask like this. They're not hiding from you. They're like in plain sight. They're like moving around in plain sight. You just don't see it because they're small. But they're there. Yeah, I assure you, a lot of people are going to die from COVID, and because I'm speaking as from a scientific point of view. Obviously, I don't want anybody to die. That's why I've created this show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak, so that you don't die and your family doesn't die. All I can do is give you knowledge, and then you could go against advice at your will. You're a free person, right? You could do whatever you want. You could risk your life, and you could risk the lives of your children. You could die, your children could die because of it, but you're still freedom. You're not slaves. I mean, I hope you will take my advice and not, start talking to people without masks. Even with masks, you should be like talking to people. You could get it. Yeah, but I mean, you're free to do what you want. All I can do is tell you what the dangers are of COVID, how you can get it, what are your chances of avoiding it. That's what I can do. In the end, you're free to do what you want. You're a master of your own life. But I hope that you will not risk your children's life just because you don't see the virus doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I'm not going to lie to you, it exists. And every single person in clinical nurse leader program who've done the pandemic simulation, and all of us did it, they know how it spreads because we've simulated it, right? Everybody knows how it spreads. Bachelors of Science nursing students who did it as well. We've actually simulated it, simulated a situation like COVID-19. And Professor Lorraine Spencer organized the simulation, and she's an amazing professor. She was a nurse at Wakefield High School, and she was a leader, like a manager in Arlington County Public Health Department. I taught ESL, English as Second Language, math at Wakefield High School. So I kind of feel camaraderie from that angle as well. But yeah, so let's go to the death figures. We have about 700 people who are recorded to have died. Some are saying the states are fudging numbers because they're opening up, so they don't want to scare people, so they're beginning to like hide the numbers. Like government lies to citizens, right? When they want to do X, Y, and Z. So, there are articles being written by journalists now saying that some states are like kind of skewing the numbers and not reporting accurately. So we may actually have like 2,000 people die every day, but states are like hiding the numbers because they want to open up, which would be a shame because if there are like more people dying from COVID, then they shouldn't lie about it, right? They should be honest to you because you have the right to know as a citizen of the United States how many people are dying, accurate figures, so that you need to know what to do. And we call that informed consent, right? You need to know what's going on to make the decisions that you're making, right? You should be making decisions because government is lying to you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I am for transparency. I believe that currently the US government is very corrupt. The federal government is very corrupt. State government is very corrupt. Local government is very corrupt. I've told you, like, I'm running as a US congressman candidate for Virginia's 8th District, Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County. I started to run as an independent in March. I was running as a Republican primary candidate from November to February, and then I changed my mind. Or, situations dictated, I changed my mind. And you could click on the video after this video that's on at the top to see, why that happened. But, I changed to run as an independent in March. And by the state of Virginia law, because I'm running as an independent, I have to submit 1,000 signatures by June. And so I didn't have to do that if I ran as a Republican primary candidate, because we don't have a primary. Actually, we have a convention. It's stated for May 30th, and the convention means that just the delegates from Arlington Republican Committee, delegates from Alexandria Republican Committee, delegates from Fairfax County Republican Committee, delegates from Falls Church Republican Committee, they come and they vote for us. We don't. So we didn't have to collect any signatures because it's a convention. And so, yeah. So, yeah. So basically, because I changed over to becoming an independent, I'm no longer participating in the Republican convention, which is not really a primary, because in primary you go and vote. And for primary, you gotta collect signatures, but for convention, you don't. And so because you have a delegates voting. So that's why after I became independent in March, I had to, by Virginia state law, as an independent candidate, I had to submit 1,000 signature to Virginia Board of Elections by June 9th. The problem is Virginia Governor Northam on March 30th, 2020 declared stay-at-home order, and he said it's going to last till June 10th. And we're still at stay-at-home order here in Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County, Virginia's 8th District. So I cannot go and knock on people's doors and collect signatures. That would be illegal. And so I wrote to the Virginia Board of Elections saying that because I can't collect signatures due to Governor Northam's stay-at-home order, you have to give me a waiver on the 1,000 signatures, right? It's a fair thing to do because it's impossible for me to collect signatures. It's legally impossible, practically impossible because it's illegal. I'll get arrested for collecting signatures. So it's only fair and right that my requirement for 1,000 signatures be waived. Virginia Board of Elections Commissioner Piper wrote back to me and said he doesn't have the legal authority to do that. He understands that's the fair thing to do, right? That's why he wrote back and said he doesn't have legal authority to do that. Just read this letter there. So, because it's on my Twitter site. So I wrote to Governor Northam because he does have the legal authority to do that. He hasn't written me back yet because Governor Northam is a friend, buddy of Don Beyer, who's the current U.S. Congressman in the Virginia 8th District. He's a Democrat. And Ralph Northam is a Democrat. And they both know how conservative I am. And you know how conservative I am because you see this show. I'm against gay marriage. I'm against abortion, um, because that's the Christian position. The Vatican is opposed to gay marriage. The Vatican is opposed to homosexuality, and Vatican is against abortion. I'm an evangelical Christian. Evangelical Christians are against gay marriage, homosexuality, and abortion. So, I mean, I actually represent the majority of America, right? And their religious positions or political position. Um, so, because obviously illegalizing gay marriage is a political action, illegalizing abortion is political action. That's why you have March for Life, which is a political movement that I supported and still support and will support. And obviously my position against abortion and gay marriage and homosexuality is protected under US civil rights law. So anybody who discriminates against me for opposing gay marriage, homosexuality, and abortion, they can be charged for violating civil rights law. I mean, I think they could go to jail even. Yeah, so this is federal law. And so, and I'm going to practice my rights to protect my freedom of religion, my freedom of political affiliation. I'll get anybody fired that I need to who are going to violate my rights. So don't violate my rights. If you don't violate my rights, you have nothing to worry about. But if you discriminate against me based on my religion or political affiliation, then you should worry because you violated a federal law, civil rights law, and there's nothing that's going to protect you. None of your friends can protect you. No lawyer can protect you. So, so don't go there if you don't want to have your life completely destroyed. Yeah, because obviously I'm encouraging all Christians out there to use the civil rights law against people who discriminate against you because you oppose gay marriage and abortion, right? I'm encouraging to sue under federal laws against people who abuse their positions of power to discriminate against you for your faith, religion, or political affiliation. And if you vote for me, you're with me. You're politically affiliated with me. I'm an official candidate for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District. I'm officially registered with Federal Election Commission, FEC, which is a federal body that monitors federal elections. I'm officially registered with U.S. House of Representatives, with the Office of the Clerk. Nancy Pelosi knows it, as a candidate for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District. So yeah, don't mess with me. I'm official candidate for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District, and I set the tone for what political affiliation is. So everybody who votes for me, if you violate their rights for voting for me, then you're voting, you violate federal affiliation bias laws, right? If you discriminate against people who vote for me, then you violate a law of political affiliation, discrimination based on political affiliation. You could probably go to jail for that. And certainly you'll lose your job and you'll be like blacklisted everywhere, liberal and conservative areas, because it's kind of like being pegged as a sexual predator or as committing a sexual crime. If you are charged under civil rights law, then you kiss the university system goodbye. There's no future in the university for you, having violated civil rights law by using bias and discriminating against somebody based on their religion or political affiliation. Your future in academia is over. Yeah, so I just want you to know that if you're out there trying to harass or discriminate against my voters, because the fact that they vote for Heerak Christian Kim or support Heerak Christian Kim as a U.S. congressman, if you discriminate against them, then you're discriminating against them for their political affiliation, because I'm an official candidate for U.S. Congress. So somebody says, I support Heerak for U.S. Congress, and you discriminate against them, you have violated civil rights law, a bias against someone based on their political affiliation. What's their political affiliation? they are voting for Heerak Christian Kim. That alone will end your life, meaning, professionally, your life is over. And that's in education, that's in nursing, that's in medicine, that's in political science, that's in school of foreign service. It doesn't matter what profession you're in. If you're pegged as violating civil rights law, I mean, you're pegged there with like everybody who violates civil rights law. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's like if you're convicted for rape or convicted for whatever, sexual crimes, even if you didn't commit it, I mean, you have to report to police everywhere you go. It's like that with civil rights law. I mean, if you get charged, or even sued, just the cloud of being sued for violating civil rights law, even if you're found innocent, is enough to destroy your life forever. Yeah, I mean, you could go and pick apples, or you could work in a meatpacking industry maybe, but your life in academia will be over. Yeah, so I'm just giving you a fair warning. Don't do anything that's going to destroy your life by discriminating against my voters in Virginia State District, because we're all protected by the civil rights law. I could test it out. I'm like, please test it out. Let me show you what I can do. Let me show you what federal law is like. Yeah, I mean, if you want to still like act with prejudice and bias against my voters and me, please let me show you what the federal law can do to you professionally and socially and politically. Let me just show you. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm an expert of Jewish law, as you know, and I didn't get here by being ignorant of the law. Ooh. Yeah, so I mean, you know what it is like to be blacklisted in your profession for the rest of your life? Do you want to be blacklisted? I mean, as you know, I'm the co-chair of the program committee of Virginia Council of Teachers of Mathematics, right? I'm a board member of a standing committee on global citizenship for National Council of Teachers of English. That's everybody who teaches English from pre-K to PhD students, including all the English professors at Georgetown University. Do you think I got to these positions being ignorant like you? I know the law, okay? And I know what the law protects. So if you're going to act ignorant and you think like your cause is so important that you have the right to discriminate against people, well, try it and see what happens to you and your future. I mean, if I list all the names of people whose lives I've destroyed, you'd be kind of shocked. Some of them are very famous people. Yeah, so I challenge you. Please, try to attack the Christian church. Try to attack the Christian faith. Try to attack my voters. Try to attack me and see what happens. I encourage you. I dare you. I dare you to discriminate against me for my religion or my faith or my political affiliation. I dare you. Yeah, so yeah, God is good. God is good all the time. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I mean, like these liberal progressives think that they're God. Like their issue is like higher than the Bible. And they think they can do whatever they want. The world doesn't work that way. You're insignificant. You are nothing. You are nothing. Yes. You think you're something, but you are nothing. Yeah. You're like just a little teeny person in the liberal progressive pond who doesn't matter. You understand? There's less than 1% of America who identifies you with your version of liberal progressivism. You do not matter. And so, it's, all of us should be humble. We need to understand where we are in life, right? And, these liberal progressive think they're God, that their issue is more important than any other issue in the world, that their issue is higher than the Bible. Why don't you try it out and see what happens? Yeah, please. please try it out and see what happens. Yeah. So yeah, I enjoy destroying lives of people who discriminate against Christians based on their faith. It's like a hobby of mine. I could list you name after name of very famous people whose lives I have happily destroyed because they tried to destroy the Christian faith or attack Christians and their rights. So, yeah, I mean, it's a hobby for me. So please give me something to do in my free time. Yeah. So, yeah. So, I'm here to defend your rights. I'm here to defend your right to freedom of speech. Your First Amendment is important to me. It's important to you. It's important to the U.S. Constitution, and these liberal progressives think that your right to believe what you want in America doesn't matter, that they could like throw the book at you, the liberal progressive book, and then you're supposed to conform to that. Yeah. So, yeah, let's get real. This world is bigger than you. This world is bigger than the liberal progressives. Yeah. Oh, God is so good. I love Jesus. Don't you love Jesus? Jesus is great, Yeah. So, yeah. So, in the last 24 hours, 684 people have died. And so on May 25th, 98,218 people were recorded as dead. And today we have 98,902 people are recorded as dead. I'm not sure if we could trust these figures because there are journalists, investigative reporters saying that some states are lying about their death figures. And we all know politicians lie, right? And who's giving us these figures? Politicians, right? Can you really trust them? I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. Not all journalists are lying, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? If there are more than a few journalists saying that states are underreporting death from COVID, that's probably true. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I haven't done an in-depth study or research into these, articles by investigative reporters, but maybe CNN will do an episode, or Fox News or CBS News. I don't know. I'll let the reporters do their investigative reporting, produce evidence for us. But they're saying that there are, underreporting by some governors and some politicians who want to open up. This won't be the first time politicians lie to get what they want. You know what I'm saying? I'm here. I want America to be great, but I'm not going to lie to you to make America great. And I'm not going to tell you that you're not in danger just because I want economy to do well. All these billionaires have something to lose because they have $1 billion, right? I have nothing to lose, and I'm just a humble man running for U.S. Congress to serve you as a servant leader, to look out for your interest. I don't have stock portfolio to protect. I don't have a business empire to protect, and so yeah. So we're it's a different scenario. It's like the world becomes turned upside down, right? Inside becomes outside, outside becomes inside. Yeah, and so yeah, it's like the world imploding into a reality that certain wealthy people want to create, and it's not, it's not that way. So I just want to show you that what you see is not always what you see, right? There are people who have interests to protect, their business empires to protect. All these politicians like millionaires, right? Tom Byers a millionaire. All these people are like millionaires. President Obama's a millionaire. So they all have their wealth to protect. I'm just running for U.S. Congress to protect your interests. Yeah, and so I become your voice. And I am here to give you the information you need to survive COVID-19. Yeah, so informed consent, we say, are comprised of 4 elements. That's disclosure, like letting you know. So I'm letting you know that if you go outside without a mask, there's a high chance you're going to get COVID, and there's a chance you could die from it, right? So I'm disclosing this information to you. I'm not hiding this information, right? And I'm disclosing the information even if you have a mask and go outside, you can still get it because unless you have N95 mask, you know, even N95 mask is not 100% foolproof, but any mask that you make, it's only like 30 or 40% effective. And if you get a surgical mask that you buy, you know, it's like 70, 80% effective. But this little virus can get in, you know, through the little cracks and stuff. And, you know, if you're like coughing or you're like breathing in, you know, and there's a opening, you know, you could go in through there, you know. So I'm giving you disclosure, right? For us to have informed consent, we need to give you disclosure. So disclosure means like information. Capacity. Capacity is basically we want to know whether you are able to make the decisions for yourself, you know. And so you know, if you can make decisions for yourself about other things, you can probably make decisions about yourself. You know, you can make decisions for yourself about this too. So whether to open up or not, you know, we're going to give you the information that you need, and then you decide whether you're going to open up or not open up. You know, that is up to you. That's your freedom. And comprehension, obviously you got to understand what is being said. And so it's both ways, right? I have to explain it to you in a way that you understand by not using a lot of medical jargons. And you have to make an effort to understand it. But generally, in the healthcare system, we want to provide information at the 5th grade level. So there's no problem with anybody understanding. And that's what I try hard to do in this show. Hopefully everybody understands it regardless of their education level. So comprehension is important. And voluntariness. Nobody can force you not to open up, you know, or nobody can force you to have a surgery. Nobody can force you to take medication, right? You gotta take it voluntarily. You gotta go to surgery voluntarily. So that's what informed consent is. So I'm kind of making an analogy or comparison between like you making an informed consent at a hospital to have a surgery on your liver for your cancer with you know, what we're experiencing, which is coronavirus death. So I'm sure you understood that. Like, you know, I teach, you know, I'm a teacher. I have a professional teacher's license, and before going to Georgetown University for my master's degree in clinical nurse leader position, I taught 5th graders at Savoy Elementary School in Anacostia neighborhood, Ward 8, in Washington, D.C. And so I taught until like June, and then I started my clinical nurse leader in June. We started our pre-pathophysiology class. You know, went from like was it like July? Like it might have been like June or July, and then it went to like August. I think it started late June and then went to August. So yeah, so it was like back to back. You know, I didn't have time to relax. This is you know, the pre-pathophysiology was hard too. You know, yeah. So that's why I have this shirt. You know, I got a lot of free shirts from District of Columbia Public Schools, and now you know, COVID death has kind of imploded into this shirt. Hopefully, it's not a prophetic thing about what's going to happen to DC. You know, yeah, you know, God's in control of everything, right? And so, you know, Dr. Burke said, you know, Washington D.C. will be, it's becoming an epicenter, and I'm predicting that there's going to be about 1,000 people just in this Washington D.C. area who will die every day in summer, and 300 of them will be like in Northern Virginia, in Virginia's 8th District area. But there's going to be 1,000 people dying every day in this area, Washington D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, because this is a killer virus, and if people are walking around talking to people, they're going to get it. Death rate will go up. I mean, it's just I'm not talking about anything that's not in a basic level science book. You know, this is all like established fact in science. So I'm not giving you any new information here. And we see, though, there's a weird trend in the sense that there are a lot of death in America compared to other areas. Like in Africa, look at the top 5 cases in Africa. They're not getting as much cases, as many cases, and the death rate is lower. So South Africa, they had 24,264 cases. The death is at 524. That's from like beginning to now. And they're not social distancing. So, it's a little weird, and I'm arguing that COVID-19 is a biological weapon created in a Chinese lab to target United States, to destroy United States. So it's a preemptive strike with biological weapons of mass destruction. And I present to you the data that you see before you as evidence that that this is true. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because you could create a virus to target certain genes, right? And then you could find out what gene is the most common in America, so that's possible. And then virus can mutate because it's a living organism, even if it's kind of manipulated in a lab. Yeah, so that's my theory, and I think I'm correct. Number 2, Egypt has 18,756 cases, and the death rate is at 797. Number 3 is Algeria with 8,697. They only have 8,000 cases, 8 to 9,000. And the death rate is 617. That's it, 617. That's like less than what we had in the last 24 hours. Nigeria has 8,344 cases. Death is at 249. That's like total death for the whole country. And Nigeria is a fairly big country. And Morocco has 7,577 cases, and they only had 202 deaths. Yeah, what we know is in the United States of America, this COVID-19 virus is killing a lot of people. So we need to just look at America. We're not in Africa. We're not in South Africa. We're not in Egypt. We're not in Algeria. We're not in Nigeria. We're not in Morocco. We're in the United States of America. So we know that in the United States of America, COVID-19 spreads like wildfire, and it kills a lot of people. So we just need to focus on that because that's what concerns us. Whether you live or die is impacted by what's happening in America because you're in America. You see what I'm saying? But I bring you this data from outside of America just to show you what's going on in other places. But the patterns in America is what's going to happen to us because the patterns are happening in America, right? So that's the most important data. And I'm going to share with you some photos from Israel, and you heard the Israel national anthem, it's like magic of the pyramids. Yeah, you even get some magic here, right. So yeah, so this photo is of Raoul Wallenberg scholars. There were 10 of us who are Raoul Wallenberg scholars in Israel. And Um, you know, the program was called Raoul Wallenberg Scholar for Human Rights and Democracy. So it was a 1 year program, and 10 of us were chosen in a very competitive national competition throughout the United States of America. A lot of people applied. Then 10 of us were chosen. Uh, and, we became Raoul Wallenberg Scholars for that year, 1 year. And we had a premier expert in um Israeli, uh, Israeli terrorism expert. Ehud Sprinzak was uh, our advisor. And then we had Raymond Cohen, professor of political science and international relations at Hebrew University of Jerusalem. So he does like things that go on at School of Foreign Service, but he's like a very important, expert in that area at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. So Raymond Cohen was one of our primary experts who we worked with on diplomacy and international relations. And Ehud Sprinzak is an expert of terrorism. And so, so for 1 year we explored that. And you see Jared Genzer there. He's from Maryland. And he went to Cornell Law School and he's a lawyer. So he's from this area, and behind him on the top photo, you see Hillary Coyne. She went to Harvard. Jared went to Cornell. And Hillary did her law degree at Georgetown Law School or Georgetown Law Center. And then she basically remained in Washington, D.C. So she's an adjunct professor in the School of Law at Georgetown University now. Maybe Tiffany Trump took some courses with her. And she's great. She's smart. And she's brilliant. I think she's maybe an athlete. She's very, she I think runs every day, like religiously. So she's very fit and healthy. I should run too, you know. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I hate running. I don't know why people enjoy running. I hate it. But anyway, and can you believe I was in the cross country team? Oh, actually, track team. We ran. Yeah, I did shot put in discus in the track team, and they made us run like 2-3 miles every day. I hated it. I hated it. Like, why do I have to run? I throw stuff, shot put and discus and javelin. Why do I have to run? But I hated that season. But yeah. But anyway. Um, And I'm a fun person, so I like to take people on trips. So when I was at Hebrew University, I organized trips, and I organized this trip for Raoul Wallenberg scholars, and it's called Hezekiah's Tunnel, and it's a famous tunnel, and you could read about it in the Old Testament. And Hezekiah is a famous king in the Bible who's credited with preventing Israel from its immediate destruction because God was threatening to destroy Israel, but Hezekiah kind of brought the nation more, more toward the Bible position, and then God kind of relented and did not destroy Israel. So Hezekiah is credited with saving Israel during his lifetime because he forced everybody to follow the Torah, which is the Bible, the Ten Commandments. And so this is a tunnel that is kind of named after him. And I actually worked on a Moabite inscription that was found in the tunnel that goes back like thousands of years. And I published on it. And I also presented a paper on the Moabite inscription. It's a separate language, actually. I presented my paper at American Oriental Society conference at the University of Chicago. So I flew over there from Israel and presented the paper. And Ensign Rainey, who was a professor at Tel Aviv University, he was a Baptist minister who converted to Judaism. So he kind of abandoned Christianity and then became a Jew. Kind kind of like Ivanka Trump, like Donald Trump's daughter was a Christian, like a Presbyterian, and then she converted to Judaism to marry, what's his name? Can't remember his name. What's the, oh, I can't remember it. Mr. Ivanka Trump. Yeah, who's like Orthodox Jewish. But yeah, so Anson Rainey is a Baptist minister who was in the Southern Baptist Convention. And it was like pro-Israel, they're like all these, pro-Israel type. Well, not everybody's like that. Like there's very minority, just few people. And then, it was so pro-Israel and, he converted to Judaism. I'm like, why give up eternal life? I don't understand it. Because, Christianity believes that only way to salvation is through Jesus Christ. So, if you convert to Judaism, you lose your salvation. So evangelical Christians in the Southern Baptist Convention would say, Anson Rainey, when he converted to Judaism, lost his salvation. That's what Christian theologians would say in the evangelical tradition. There was a Jesuit. There's a Jesuit priest who's very famous, Geza Vermeersch, and he's professor of Jewish studies at Oxford University. And his I think grandfather was Jewish, and then his grandfather's generation converted, or his father was Jewish and converted. So he became a Christian, and then he became a Jesuit priest because, he was born into a Christian family, but his parents or his grandparents were originally Jewish. And then he became a Jesuit priest and became a great scholar of Jewish studies. And then at Oxford University, he converted to Judaism. And then he just, he became Jewish. He abandoned Jesuit tradition. He's one of the greatest scholars of Jewish studies in the world. But he, yeah, and I used a lot of his works, obviously. But yeah, but anyway, yeah. Going back to Hezekiah's tunnel, so I took Raoul Wallenberg scholars on a trip to Hezekiah's tunnel, and on the bottom, you could see the photograph of not all of them. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 4 are missing. So you see, let's see, Sorna is there. Sorna, his father was a general in the Iranian army that immigrated to the United States, and Sorna went to University of Chicago and did his bachelor's and master's in 4 years. You can do that in a lot of schools if you work really hard. He's a brilliant guy, and obviously he's from like wealthy family in Iran, and I think he lives in Columbia, Maryland. Is his family Columbia, Maryland, or Silver Springs, Maryland? He's from this area. He went to University of Chicago. He joined the Marine Corps. I mean, his father's a general, so he comes from a military family. So he joined the U.S. Marine Corps, and he has a college degree, so he went for officer training, and he became an officer in the U.S. Marine Corps. And his family is distinguished military family from Iran, and Sorna is smart, and then Jared Genzer is right next to Sorna, and Jared is from Maryland area. And next to that is Hillary Coyne Brill, and she's wearing UCLA shirt. I went to UCLA for my doctoral studies, and I actually represented UCLA when I was at Hebrew University as a Raoul Wallenberg scholar, because I was a doctoral student at UCLA at that time. So yeah, and I did research in Jewish studies as well on the side. I was part of the Raoul Wallenberg program. And my official status at Hebrew University was a visiting research fellow, because I applied separately to Hebrew University as well. But anyway, yeah, for that position. But anyway, next to her is Heather, and she's from Georgia, state of Georgia. And her father is a judge, like a federal judge, very important guy in Georgia. And she went to Dartmouth College. Hillary was at Harvard, represented Harvard. Heather represented Dartmouth. Jared represented Cornell. Sorna represented University of Chicago. And then next to Heather is Corey Velt, and he represented Stanford University. So this was the year between, he graduated from Stanford and he was at Hebrew University as well, Wallenberg scholar. Then he went to MIT to do his PhD in Russian studies. And then he came to Georgetown as a professor and then assistant director of the Russia Studies Center. And then he was recruited by George Washington University as director of Russia Studies Center at George Washington University. So yeah, so he's around there. And then Nami Ando represented Swarthmore College. She's Japanese American. So she just had graduated from Swarthmore. So yeah, I'm the one taking the photo. And, you know, Hillary is kind of waving at me because I'm taking the photo there. Do you see how high the water rose? Like Hillary's shirt is like all wet. That's how high the water rose. So we're walking through this tunnel and the water is rising, right? It scared people. You know, look at Jared's face. I mean, and look at Hillary's face. Like their water is like up to their neck. They're like, there's like fear there, right? Everybody's like really afraid. And there I am with my camera taking, no, it's not me. Because I'm taking, oh yeah, that is me because I'm taking photograph, but I'm holding something else in my other arm because I don't want it to get wet. So yeah, that's me taking the photo because I'm like leading the way, right? Yeah, so that was a fun trip. And then you see all of us kind of coming out, and then we had some Arabic food after that because it's in the old town of Jerusalem. Those are good memories. I'll probably hire these people when I become U.S. congressman. They're all Democrats, but they're smart. And we did a lot of together. We have a lot of good memories together. So when I become U.S. congressman, I'll probably hire Hillary and Jared. They're both lawyers. Sorna, Corey Bell, he's an expert in Russian studies. Heather, I mean, all of them, probably can do something, for me, for U.S. Congress, as I try to make America a better place. So, so vote for me on November 3rd, 2020. And yeah, write to Governor Northam to get me on the November ballot. All he has to do is waive my requirement for 1,000 signatures as a governor. That's all he has to do. So you just write to Governor Northam, flood his office with letters. And get me on the November ballot because that's only fair because he's the one who issued the stay-at-home order from March 30th to June 10th, and I have to submit 1,000 signatures by June 9th. And they knew that because this is Virginia's 8th district. It's like the most treasured district, right? They know that I could beat Dunbar. They're just playing dirty because they've been following me since November as someone who can beat Dunbar. So yeah, it's not good that Virginia politics is becoming so dirty under the Democrats. But anyway, yeah. So write to Virginia Governor Northam and tell him to give me a waiver. Because he has the legal authority to do that as a governor. And don't let them lie to you. He can do that. And so yeah. So I thank you for watching this show. I'm happy that you got to learn about informed consent. And you know how interesting this show is? I'm giving you, I'm comparing informed consent to how our country is experiencing COVID-19, right? I mean, geez, this is interesting for everyone. Even if you have a PhD in virology or in biology, you're getting a perspective and insight from Heerak Christian Kim, the Leonardo da Vinci of the 21st century, who organizes information in a way that's interesting to you and, more importantly, insightful to you, so you can use something from that, to survive COVID-19, to make the world a better place. So, yeah. So yeah, vote for me for Virginia's 8th District for U.S. Congress on November 3rd, 2020. And I'm really excited about my celebration being pinned on Friday. 25 of us, we did it! CNL, 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 2020, 2020, CNL. So 25 of us, we did it! So yeah, so I have brought the mystery of the pyramids to you today. Yeah, I have unraveled the mysteries of coronavirus. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed today's show. And this is a daily show, so check back in tomorrow. Maybe I'll have some magic tomorrow as well. Uh, yeah, so we'll see you tomorrow. And yeah, so I hope you'll be well and that your family will be well. And I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. So I bid you adieu for now. Goodbye.